The highest level of play or performance requires agility, speed, skill, and thinking 3 steps ahead. This is the A game. Welcome. The A game is a place where intuition and smarts are inherent, where systems learn from you and study market shifts to become intelligent, where employees and customers alike have better experiences that work seamlessly, where automation is paramount, yet effortless, when technology and people are one in an enterprise. The A game is business at its best. We call this the Autonomous Digital Enterprise from BMC.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. A very warm welcome to all of you. I am Shubhendu, Parth, editor of Dataquest and Voice&Data, and I am your host for today's webinar on autonomous digital enterprises. The webinar is part of the magazine's capacity building and information sharing initiative, where we bring to you experts from the industry to talk about technology trends, latest developments, and CIO challenges, as also how to training programs and strategy sessions. In today's session, we have three very distinguished guests who have a lot of industry experience, and I'd like to dip into their knowledge and expertise to help us understand more about autonomous digital enterprise. In fact, when I first heard about the term, I was confused a bit. Somehow, I've been so conditioned that the moment we hear the word digital, I visualize everything connected and working on their own. So I was a bit confused. And why AD? What does it exactly mean? And then there were other technology jargons: cloud native, agility, responsiveness. And does it mean the same as Industry 4.0 and so on and so forth? Together, we intend to explore and understand the trends of the new normal, the evolving needs of enterprises and businesses, and more about autonomous digital enterprise. But before we begin the session, I have some housekeeping essentials to announce. Ladies and gentlemen, for the duration of the webinar, all participants will be on the listen-only mode. However, you will be able to send questions to the chat, and we will be able to take it depending upon the available time. Your feedback is also very important to us, and hence, may I request you all to submit your feedback at the end of the webinar. To make the session interactive, we also have some poll questions that we will be sharing during the session. You can select the options displayed on the screen and send us your responses. The results will be made visible immediately. Now, to begin the session on autonomous digital enterprises, may I now request our esteemed guests to join us. Please welcome Mr. Ram Chakravarti. Can you switch on your camera, Chakravarti? Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us in this wee hour. It's too early in your part of the world, Mr. Chakravarti. Thank you so much. Mr. Chakravarti is the Chief Technology Officer with BMC Software Inc. He oversees the BMC Innovation Labs as well as the company's overall technology strategy, common architecture, corporate development, and shared services, including experience design, quality assurance, and cybersecurity. It's a pleasure to have you with us today evening for this session. Welcome to the Dataquest panel discussion.
Thank you, Shubhendu, and good afternoon to everyone. Really glad to be here, and I wish each and every one of you and your families a really speedy recovery and return to normal in these trying times. Happy to be here, and thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. I would also like to invite Mr. Sunil Thakur. Director BMC India, to join the discussion today. Can you come online, Thakur? Yeah, hi.
Hi, good afternoon, Shubhendu.
Yeah, good. Mr. Thakur has 25 years of executive experience in customer engagement, and he leads the business activities across India and SAARC region at BMC. This includes sales, partner development, and customer success. At BMC, he has helped customers run and reinvent their business and solutions in digital services and operation management, application workflow orchestration, and mainframe optimization. Welcome again, Mr. Thakur. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us today for the technology webinar organized by Dataquest. Though we are at different time zones, and it's too early for Ram in the morning, and we are in the evening, and despite this distance, and due to thanks to the technology that we see that we are discussing today, we are connected and we are hosting this webinar. So, while technology has always disrupted market, business models, and the way things are done, this new normal has actually ushered in an unprecedented level of change across sectors, including the way enterprises and businesses are run and the way services are delivered. And particularly in India, with the government announcing 5G trials, this is going to get further fillip or push. So while many of the developing nations are already ahead on the curve, driving the fourth industrial revolution of the connected and autonomous machines, India has slowly kind of started to move towards it. Higher and better network capacity, proliferation of mobile data, deep tech, and the pandemic itself has been driving massive change in customer behavior and expectations. Now, all of this requires a major shift in the way organizations think, design, work, and deliver. And this actually brings me to the first question of today's discussion, which I would like to direct towards Mr. Ram Chakravarti. As we all know, this digital transformation has been a long-term strategy for many organizations for years to come. The global pandemic, however, has dramatically changed this charter's cadence, and it has hastened the speed of digitalization. Mr. Chakravarti, how do you see companies reinventing and pivoting for future success?
Thank you. That's a
Over to you.
great question. Please call me Ram. We can dispense with the formalities. We're among friends here. The obvious observation is that COVID has accelerated technology transformation with an imposition of new ways of working or the collaboration tools to support the same, resilient infrastructure, amplified focus on connectivity, and a whole host of others. While specific strategic priorities and initiatives may vary with each company, as we emerge from the pandemic, what we are seeing are some common patterns across industry sectors and geographies. Specifically, what we are observing is a continued focus on data and analytics initiatives, as well as a renewed focus on improving customer experience and de-risking one's overall cybersecurity risk. Now, automation, on the other hand, is considered by many as table stakes. However, it continues to manifest as a judicious infusion of AI in specific use cases to evolve from rules-based to learning and inference-based approaches. And this is regardless of whether it's process automation, application workflow automation, orchestration and automation of data pipelines, IT process automation, and what have you. We believe that differentiation will require bold bets in data and analytics for high-value use cases, as well as in enabling a killer customer experience with the infusion of conversational AI going forward, even blending augmented reality and virtual reality to help the do-it-yourself customer service experience, along with a judicious mix of the human touch.
Okay, thanks a lot, Ram. And my next question actually is to Sunil. So you have a very long experience in the Indian market, Sunil, and How are the industries and enterprises reacting to the situation? And particularly now that we are in the post wave two recovery phase. So how do you see it?
Shubhendu, there was a difference in both phases. Phase one was about a complete countrywide lockdown, while the phase two was more like a localized phenomenon, state by state. There was a different kind of lockdowns that came in, curbs came into the second wave. Also, by and large, if you look at it, the activities remained muted for about 3 to 4 weeks' time, and unlike a very long, protracted period in phase one. And I think together as a society, we had learned to deal with it way. And actually, this enemy was not an unknown enemy anymore. Another important aspect is that in phase one, it required a steep learning curve for the organizations and also for the employees. My assessment is that we were better prepared to deal in the second wave. So in a way, lesser disruption to the overall momentum the way we were going, right? Now, if you look at the various industries, I think the major impact came into the manufacturing sector, which was one of the hardest hit as they had to work with less staff. But however, unlike what was happening in phase one, where a lot of people returned back to their hometowns, this time I think the migration was less, and I think the return to work was much faster. But if you look at it overall, there was collateral problems and the disruption were high because there was supply chain disruption, and that had a big impact on the overall manufacturing sector. But for most other industries, I think the second wave had little impact, as I think we had learned to work from anywhere. And this was a huge change in the mindset, both for the employer and also for the employee. And this paradigm shift came about in the phase one. So if you look at the positive side of the wave two, the stock market continued to represent a positive trends. And in fact, India was probably isolated. The most other economies in the world were growing. So the exports seemed to be picking up in the international market as the demand continued to grow. So the big change that I see as an impact of COVID is that both in wave one and wave two, and especially it speeded up with the wave two, is that the investment in technology discussions has gone up significantly. So the reluctance in what I would say adopting technology has actually changed into an investment in technology mindset. So that's a huge change that I see.
Right. So thanks, Sunil, and again thanks, Ram, for setting the context. And this is where I would come to the framework or the what we have set out to discuss, the autonomous digital enterprise and what it is. So, Ram, could you kind of elaborate or explain what exactly is ADE and how do you see it supporting or playing a part in Industry 4.0?
Great question, Shubhendu. So a little bit of context. Back in late 2019, when Ayman Syed became the CEO of BMC, he and I set out to define a top-down strategy to propel BMC to the forefront of this technology infusion, exponential technology infusion. And after a lot of research and talking to executives in industries and analysts and reading a lot of documentation, we formulated a certain set of hypotheses. The basic hypothesis, which at first blush sounds simplistic, is that every company will become a tech-driven company by 2025 or thereabouts, aspiring to evolve to what I call an autonomous digital enterprise. That then begs the question, what is an autonomous digital enterprise or an ADE? I define an ADE as an entity that comprises intelligent, interconnected, tech-enabled value-creating systems that operate with optimal human involvement across both the internal functions and the external ecosystem of its partners. And an ADE is characterized by three traits for success: business agility, customer centricity, and actionable insights. That then leads to the question, what are BMC's strategic priorities? We have two priorities. Number one, we want to be a strategic partner to our customers in their quest to become ADEs. Number two, we want to become an ADE ourselves, and this effort is underway, and this is the One BMC transformation in BMC that is 15 months old and counting. Now, how do we tie this to Industry 4.0 and what have you? ADE is fundamentally rooted in Industry 4.0, which is otherwise known as the connectivity era. wherein the explosive growth of interconnected devices, data proliferation, new tech capabilities, and rapidly changing customer preferences are fundamentally upending how companies operate. Now, we believe in the constancy of change imposed by technology. This, complemented by a multitude of geopolitical and socioeconomic factors, not to mention black swans such as a pandemic, have created a perfect storm that is really forcing companies to rethink their offerings, operations, and organizational model like never before. So, evolving to an ADE in closing is akin to adapting to Industry 4.0 on steroids, if I may.
Right. So, as you rightly said, it's on a steroid, and that's actually pushed the way steroid acts, the digitalization. And
Yeah.
so, Sunil, as we know, Industry 4.0 as a concept came way back in 2011, and as compared to many advanced economies, India still seems to kind of lag behind in terms of intent for a large-scale automation. Since you have been interacting with the industry in India, and you have been in the space, what do you think is holding back the country?
Yeah, tricky question, but let me try and understand and explain what's going on and what is it that I felt from the market. If you look at it, Industry 4.0 was the way it was first conceptualized. It was primarily aimed at reinventing manufacturing and supply chain processes through technology, right? That is how it started in 2011. And one of the primary incentives for the advanced economy was cost optimization aspect for local players to compete with the outsourcing advantage of low-cost manpower, right? The industry had to adapt and leverage technology as a competitive advantage. But if you note, cost was not the only aspect that it influenced. It actually drove speed, efficiencies, right? Fast forward a few years, and Industry 4.0 is no more just for the manufacturing industries. But this is a term which is garnering traction in all other industries as well. The blockchain, in BFSI, and if you look at every industry, the change is speeding up because these cloud service providers are making all these latest technology available to all. So back in India, now while organizations have been adopting all these technologies like analytics and stuff like that, things like automations have not really taken off at the same level as those kind of technology. This is probably due to the fact that automation for long has been primarily viewed as a manpower reduction initiative, right, in India. And there's no dearth of manpower in our part of the world. So this has been one of the key detractors for adopting automation in our part of the world. However, as Ram said, this black swan event of pandemic has actually created a perfect storm. So a lot of enterprises are now changing their outlook towards automations, and they're beginning to view it as a means to accelerate delivering value and seamless experience. So, when I go and meet customers now, they want to talk a lot more about automation. I was addressing a webinar a few days back, and before the webinar, I put in a survey question on what is it that they would want me to speak on. And automation came as the number one thing that they wanted to hear about. So it's coming back into the table, which we had put away for a long time.
Thanks a lot. An important aspect of automation will be the billions of sensors and connected devices. And are we not making things really complex, leading to a digital infrastructure management nightmare? And I'd like to ask this to Ram, actually, if we can take this up as a
Sure.
CTO for the company and drafting the entire technology strategy. So what's your take on this?
Shubhendu, as you rightly observed, there's been an explosive growth of interconnected devices complemented by 5G. Case in point, there were 21.6 billion interconnected devices in 2020, and this is expected to be greater than 45 billion by the end of 2021. The previous predictions of 75 billion connected devices by 2024 or thereabouts, they're going to blow those to the smithereens. Now, that said, currently much of the industry still caters to the central computing model. And what do I mean by the central computing model? The central computing model is characterized by one or more hyperscalers, virtual private clouds, on-premises data centers, and even the mainframe in a certain subset of industries for some mission-critical transactions. However, in the next couple of years, we will see edge computing become a part of this hybrid IT landscape to complement the central computing model. Now, to cater to this emerging need, the old paradigms are not enough. So what you need to do with interconnected devices is with the premise of edge computing, you need to solve for latency and security. As an example, it is predicted that there will be a 300% rise in cyber threats by 2025 relative to now, with much of it being at the edge. So if we do not address the latency and the security issues, we are going to be in this horrible digital nightmare scenario that you outlined. So every company, I mean, I'm sure a lot of companies are doing a bunch of things. What we are doing at BMC is we are making selective bets on extending our use cases of our portfolio to the edge. With judicious investments in edge computing, we've built this edge computing platform. And what it will do is it will serve as the bridge between your edge assets on one side and the BMC portfolio, product portfolio on the other, which is known for its scale and resilience, so that we can extend the same use cases to those edge assets and thereby help our customers. That's what we offer, what we bring to the table.
Thanks a lot, Ram, for explaining it through the in-house example, and that also highlights the strength and the thought process actually. We also understand that the company provides intelligent solutions for adoption of cloud technologies and automation of enterprise operations. So can you elaborate a little more on the core tenets of ADE and how you see it supporting companies as they continue to reinvent for the future? Again, since you have been reinventing BMC, it might help to, if you can.
Absolutely. No, thank you. I'm happy to share my 5 cents worth, as the expression in the United States goes. There are 5 technology tenets that are at the heart of an autonomous digital enterprise. And it always starts with a transcendent customer experience, where it's about anticipating emerging customer needs and creating real connections by making technology feel more human and providing customers, whether internal or external, an amazing experience. I'm going to touch upon 1 or 2 differentiated capabilities in each. In transcendent customer experience, it's about journey analytics and orchestration, conversational AI-based customer service, and I already talked about augmented reality and virtual reality. The second tenet is automation everywhere. It's a play on words, and the point is to emphasize pervasive automation and radically automated customer interactions and operations. Here is where things such as enterprise scale orchestration come into play. AI ops is a term that's being brought into the mix as an industry term, but we are making many bets to drive what I call intelligent automation, wherein you go from what I call descriptive analytics to more predictive and prescriptive analytics that are action oriented. But you've got to be judicious about it again. The third tenet is the notion of enterprise DevOps, which is going beyond the software DevOps tool chain to make the entire enterprise agile and balance that agility with quality. And here we are seeing the emergence of new personas, which is not just the traditional site reliability engineering, but this morphing into site and service reliability engineering, among others. And that's where the notion of reliability analytics comes in. The fourth is the notion of a data-driven business, which is one that operates with a data mindset and has analytical capabilities that enable new revenue streams. And this is a super exciting area, my favorite area by far. And here is where we see differentiated capabilities such as data ops, ML ops, again, extending data pipelines to the edge to extend the notion of edge computing as a complement to central computing become key differentiators. And the last tenet is what I call adaptive cybersecurity, which is the natural evolution of security functions across a bunch of dimensions. And just to tease it out, a couple of differentiated capabilities beyond just the AI enablement of standard security capabilities is the mainstreaming of zero trust frameworks, as well as with the increased adoption and embracing of 1 or more hyperscalers and various types of clouds, public and private, cloud workload protection platforms become even more important. So these are the tenets, and across all of these at BMC, we make very judicious bets in terms of where we want to focus our strategic efforts. As importantly, we also this framework also helps us define where we do not want to play and why we do not want to play, which is as important as determining clearly where we want to continue to play.
Thanks a lot, Ram, for taking us through the 5 tenets and explaining it so beautifully. As we know, the pandemic actually has led to a surge in adoption of cloud and mobile business strategies in India. And Sunil touched upon it. You talked about the increasing use of data. So how geared is BMC to support the industry on these 2 fronts? And how does it integrate with the overall Industry 4.0 strategy? Sunil, would you like to take this?
Yeah, surely, Shubhendu. And so one of the learnings from the past year for every industry was the importance of being resilient, which is actually one of the outcomes of adopting Industry 4.0. Scalability was another key virtue that people were looking at. Suddenly, there was an explosion that was required. Now, there is, if you look at the market, literally an explosion of cloud service availability. Add to this the arrival of containers, microservices, and all other cloud-native constructs. Truly, we are spoiled for choices. So the key then is to make the right decision when you're planning to migrate to cloud. And BMC solutions like Discovery, Cloud Cost Control help you to plan better so that you can quickly understand the cost, the configurations, and the locations of resources that is being migrated to the cloud. Perform an assessment based on this information and achieving what I call as a successful cloud migration while easily staying on budget. But the dark side of all these transformative elements is, of course, cybersecurity, right? Another example is, BMC Helix Cloud Security, which automates security checks and remediation. So no coding required to consistently enforce secure configurations of resources on public cloud with an audit trail. Now, because this is SaaS, there is nothing to install. You can just begin improving your cloud security postures in minutes. So there are many ways in which we were, working with the industry. The other challenge that was gaining ground is the IT teams were dealing with an increasing amount of data, and Ram talked about and touched upon it. Now, from traditional ISIT operations data to these new cloud needs with business data and all its related regulatory imperatives, driving in huge amount of data. The problem is, this control tower was unable to get a full 360-degree view. So BMC AIOps is, one of the leading solutions in the market. And truly speaking, artificial intelligence is now getting at the foundation of every BMC product. And all this will enable all the enterprise automation that we talked about. So if you look at it, there were many, many tools and technologies that we worked on along with our customers during this pandemic time and during this transformation journey that they had so that they can efficiently migrate and work on their digital transformation strategies.
Thanks a lot. And I was just thinking, that how the new normal is kind of driving organizations to scale up their digital infrastructure, the services and applications to a global workforce and customer base. It's become so pervasive in our life also, actually, in a way. And this creates a need for a solution that kind of integrates and automates and orchestrates applications and data workflows. How can organizations handle such complexities? Ram, can you take this up? Yeah.
Yeah, I have a point of view on this, and this is the basis of many of one of our most important set of strategic bets. I believe that enterprise scale orchestration is already emerging as a critical must-have capability for organizations. So what do I mean by this? You talked about the need to orchestrate application and data workflows. I actually will extend that to what I call the orchestrator of orchestrators, or in a more casual parlance, I call it the 6-layer cake. What are the 6 layers? There is process automation. Second, there is orchestration of complex application workflows that we talked about. Third, ever-increasing complexity in data pipelines that span a hybrid IT landscape that requires phenomenal orchestration in a hybrid multi-cloud environment. Number 4, it's about the orchestration of DevOps tool chains. Number 5, the traditional IT process automation or the IT infrastructure optimization. Number 6, orchestrating at the edge. In order to be able to navigate all of these complexities, you're going to really require an enterprise scale orchestration capabilities that is scalable, agile, and resilient. And let me underscore the point with one case example. I'll be brief, I promise. And this also ties back to the notion of the autonomous digital enterprise. There's a customer of BMC, it's called they're called Navista. They've been around for 120 years or thereabouts, since 1902. And they manufacture heavy trucks, equipment, heavy engine equipment, and school buses and so on. Their constituents, the stakeholders are twofold. One, the customers who are the fleet owners, and then a network of dealers. This company started on its quest to become an autonomous digital enterprise back in the mid-2010s or thereabouts. And they embarked on a bunch of programs. Part of it was to offer a digital offering, a paid-for digital offering on vehicle utilization information, wherein you could basically optimize the experience of the vehicle's utilization for their dealers and integrate it with their fleet owners. So they installed a whole bunch of sensors in each of these trucks. And as part of the product evolution of this program that was called On Command, they integrated IoT streams, a set of complex workflows, and they used BMC's Control M, which is the industry's leading orchestration solution, as the heart of this particular technology enablement. Fast forward, as they've introduced it, they've seen a 5x improvement in performance in the terms of the insights they've gained. They're able to process more than 20 million IoT records on a daily basis from IoT job streams. They've got a 40% improvement in productivity and an 80% improvement in cost. And they've made it such that they can, I tell the fleet owners, when a particular part in a vehicle requires a certain change, and then even point to the dealer that is in an optimal location that has those service change parts, so that the time for service repairs and maintenance can be dramatically reduced and the cost can be optimized. That is a classic example of a brick and mortar company basically evolving into a tech-driven company and using orchestration as a vehicle to solve a complex business problem. It's a really inspiring use case, but one of many we can point to illustrate the problem of enterprise scale orchestration to handle such complex business problems.
Thanks, Ram, for elaborating and talking about the 6 layers and all. It looks, sounds very, very interesting, and this, but from a larger company perspective, and when I think of the long tail of economy, the SMEs, which is at a critical juncture in India, Sunil, would you like to touch upon, particularly from the Indian market perspective, that what are the technical ways forward for SMEs to address immediate challenges and to make the right investment for long-term continuation? Again, from the context that the solutions that Ram was talking about, because there's kind of a wrong notion that a lot of these solutions are complex and cannot be used for the SME. So would you like to break the myth or demystify it?
That's a great question, Shubhendu. And what I will do is I'll just put the whole principle behind it of how I look at this. Now, SMEs, they need to approach their digital transformation in an agile manner, because that's how they will survive. Given this uniqueness of SMEs, it is imperative that they focus on the right technology to adopt first. Now, this is where the technology companies will have to be playing a key role to consult and advise the right point of entry for a digital transformation journey based on the sector in which these SMEs are. So the focus should be on the key challenges they face during the and focusing on the initiatives that will actually make them thrive in future. Now, this means technology should be viewed by SMEs as an integral part of their growth and subsequent investment areas. Now, a study by Google KPMG showed that digitally empowered SMEs, have about twice the revenue growth projections in comparisons to offline SMEs, right? So it's becoming, as Ram talked about, right, this perfect storm. And after that, it's become all the more relevant. So if you look at it, the first tenet which comes to mind, which would be applicable across all sectors, is for SMEs to adopt automation as a service. And the reason I say this is that automation is not just a way to improve operational efficiencies, but it is a key enabler for helping organizations get value out of the technologies. Things like data analytics to promote, data-driven decisions, and that's the approach that BMC has been taking as well. Now, this is all very important because irrespective of an organization's size, data is going to be the biggest asset and allies in the face of adversity. Now, having data and means to analyze it is not going to be sufficient on its own. It's imperative to do it with speed and with accuracy, because in the current age, the value of data is inversely proportional to its age. Now, in this scenario, a strong foundation of automation is necessary to maximize the overall value derived from all your data pipelines. Now, this lays foundations for SMEs to plan for subsequent digital transformation initiatives. And I would say this is backed by data-driven decisions that Ram talked about.
Thank you, Sunil, and for elaborating and kind of demystifying, uh, the, the normal notion of SMEs and complexities of technologies and how to handle it. So this step-by-step approach that you talked about is kind of very useful. And as we go ahead, we see the uptake of digital technologies at a societal level, and this has led to a major changes in customers' expectations and needs. This also means that the business needs to become more smarter, productive, and continuously deliver high performance digital experiences, as also uninterrupted service, and aimed at delighting the customer and kind of ensuring a competitive edge for themselves. So how can companies like BMC help them? Ram, this for you.
Okay. Great question, Shubhendu. I mentioned before, right? The notion of the autonomous digital enterprise is to help us provide a framework that helps us engage with customers on one dimension, but two, also fundamentally tell us where we should invest, where we should stay out of, and what we should get out of. All of these are pretty much important. So as we've done that, and as we've made multi-horizon strategic bets, and we are executing against said bets with a deliberate set of investments across a roadmap of portfolio of products, let me highlight a couple of areas where BMC can help, and I'm going to try and tie them back to the ADE tenets in a couple of cases. First, we talked about transcendent customer experience. So here, providing that superior experience where BMC can help is in the notion of a conversational AI-driven virtual assistants that provides a seamless context switching across channels that is supported by natural language processing enabled knowledge management. So on top of what we've built with AI and conversational, with the virtual assistants enabled by conversational AI, we bought a company called Come Around, which provides NL-enabled knowledge management. It's the integration of the two that is going to give a superior experience to customers. And this is primarily aimed at employees, which are the internal customers, as well as can be extended to external customers of organizations as well. Now, Sunil touched upon automation, which has been the bread and butter of BMC and will continue to be. A couple of areas of where we can provide differentiation, which is with AI-enabled service management, we are focusing on proactive resolution and predictive incidents that can improve productivity with automation significantly. That's a differentiator. Second, I talked about the complex enterprise scale orchestration from process to applications to data to the edge and what have you. Providing that with the requisite resilience, agility, and scale is a huge bet for us. That's my 6-layer cake, right? The third is this notion of AI ops and intelligent automation that drives increasing levels of predictive and prescriptive capabilities to our customers. Next, data-driven business, we are laser focused, and this is where the BMC Innovation Labs that is under my remit has a laser focus on streamlining complex data pipelines in a hybrid IT landscape with a whole bunch of organic product innovations as well as extension of these to the edge to optimize the health and performance of these complex pipelines. There's so much more. I can probably talk about this for the next 45 minutes, but in the interest of time for the webinar, I'll stop here and revert to you.
Thanks, Ram, and thanks, Sunil. As you rightly said, we have to stop the discussion here due to time concerns. And no matter how much I'm tempted to continue, and you are also willing to talk to clear some more doubts, but I must still thank you both for making it such an interactive dialogue and for walking us through both the technology trends impacting the industry and also the ADE framework. We are also getting several questions from the participants, and some of them also have been sending reminders and messages over the chat. But again, to the participants and to you, we'll be coming back to that. And after we go through a presentation, there's a presentation that we have lined up on BMC Helix. And so we'll move on to the presentation now. And may I request you to switch off your camera so that I can invite the speaker. And please don't go away, because we have, after the presentation, we will be coming for the question and answer session.
Sounds good. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So may I now request Mr. Deepak Bhatia, Product Account Manager, BMC India, to join us. So Mr. Bhatia has over 9 years of experience in sales, marketing, product management, and alliances, and operation management. He has experience in industries spanning manufacturing, O&G, industrial, robotics, telecom, and enterprises. He comes with a comprehensive understanding of customer buying behavior, procurement processes, and has a very strong experience in leading complex business transformation opportunities with focus on both telecom and enterprise software and services. So may I now request Mr. Bhatia to walk us through Helix. Over to you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you all are keeping safe and sound and are getting your vaccines as soon as possible. But thank you very much for that kind introduction, Shubhendra. It's a pleasure for me to be a part of this webinar today, explaining BMC strategy of what we are trying to do in terms of whatever we just discussed through Ram and Mr. Sunil as well. So we heard a lot of jargons in the conversations today in terms of autonomous, in terms of digital, in terms of what enterprises are doing. We talked about automation, we talked about different industries, how they're adopting Industry 4.0. But how all of that culminates into a strategy that BMC is going into the market and helping serve their customers across the globe, across different industries, across different use cases and solutions of all the technologies that we all talked about. And all of that, I'm happy to say that all of that culminates into a single platform, which is called as BMC Helix today. So in these next about 15 to 17 minutes, I would like to help understand what BMC Helix is all about and why it is important for our customers, specifically in the India market, given the COVID pandemic. But first of all, let us first understand what is SaaS and what are the drivers of a cloud adoption strategy. Now, in the past, few years that we have seen that the market is considerably changing, where we were initially talking about 2 decades back about mainframes. Then we came up into data centers. We are talking about hybrid data centers, and slowly and steadily in the last 2-3 years, we have seen specifically the India market going towards a major cloud adoption, be it public cloud or utilizing services and software solutions as a service from the different vendors who are providing it over the public cloud. And we have seen that the public cloud spending has been increasingly going, where APAC, the Asia Pacific region as a whole, inclusive of India, has seen over 10% year-on-year increase in terms of the spending that we have seen. So as we have seen, we were talking about how the industry adoption in the India market towards cloud and public cloud spending has increased, and we have seen majority of that spending coming into the entire cognitive service management and enterprise operations space. That how do you drive your IT operations to deliver the services to your end customers, where India being a key focus going forward. Now, what are the drivers? I mean, we talked about Ram and Sunil talking about the expectations have been transcendent. From an AD platform perspective, we are talking about transcendent customer experience, which has been ever rising given the agility, and the computation that has blown up, the services, the speed of services which are launching into the market is all adding up to rising customer expectations, which is giving an advantage and a platform, where we are talking about hyperscale. Gone are the days where we are putting up, all those data centers, putting in racks, servers, and running your applications. But it has come up into a very hyperscale and a platform economy sort of a perspective. And adding on to that, given the pandemic, I mean, we have reimagined the future of work. I mean, we have gone from boundaries, our own workstations to borderless. How do we are reconfiguring our entire workspaces, right? How do you serve people, your employees, your end customers who are sitting remote and not confined to any specific workplace, right? So that is how the future of work, the customer expectations, the rise of autonomy is giving a rise to a platform economy which is growing at a hyper scale, I would say. And that is where one of the key drivers that some of the key drivers that we have seen for cloud adoption. So why SaaS? I mean, we have seen in the traditional data center environment world, many of the customers that we have spoken about complain a lot of things. For example, the high infrastructure cost that they have to spend in terms of installing a particular software solution on premise into their own data center. They will have to procure the hardware. They will have to sign different contracts with third party vendors to come and implement those, and they will have to spend again on the upgrades, because as a vendor, as an OEM, new features, functionality as per the customer expectations keep coming out at a rapid scale, right? I mean, we have seen from a BMC perspective, our new releases come every quarterly basis. So customers tend, find it very painful to keep up to date with the latest N or N minus one versions, and to perform those upgrades. We have, it's a lot of cost. It's a painful because of all the customizations that we have done. So what happens is that customers are not able to leverage the power of the latest features and functionality because they are sitting at very, very old versions to the extent of N-5 or N-6 versions. And therefore, the cost to support, these solutions are incrementally high because they will have to pay for different software, different hardware. The people who have to manage this, they have to pay separately for the, upgrades as well. And that is resulting in a poor service quality as well for your end customers also. When we talk to our customers, we always think not about the customer, how the customer is used to is going to use the particular software, but how the customer's customer is going to use this. And that is where our key focus has always been, because if we are talking about transforming our customer experience, our customer is also looking at transforming their own customers, right? So that is where the service quality comes in, that how fast are you able to resolve a problem for your end customer? How far, let's say, for example, your end customer has raised a ticket for a particular problem that he is facing. How soon are you able to resolve, and how soon you are able to improve the service quality for that customer? So all of that comes into place, and that is why it all leads to a very manual and a slow process where automation comes in. So how do customers look at taking away all these problems and just focus on customer experience, just focus on speed, just focus on reducing the cost and the complexities that come with a typical on-prem solution? And that is where SaaS comes in, which is a software which initially was installed in your data center. On the left hand side, that you can see, right from the application to the entire hardware of storage, servers, networking, all of that has to be managed by an end customer, right? But with SaaS, we are taking all of that away, and what the user uses or a customer uses is just the front end application, and all of the entire associated elements is something that is taken care by a cloud service provider or a managed service provider in terms of the software upgrades, making sure that you are on N or N-1 version. You do not have to worry about the costs which are coming as overheads to perform those upgrades. You will have to not worry more about the infrastructure management, that how many server capacity, what are the different networking devices, what is the infrastructure spend that I'll have to have. All of that goes away, and what is delivered to you at the end of the day are two things. First is the latest application which is on the latest version with all the latest features and functionalities as per your own needs. And second is the time that you are saving by not managing the on-prem services or on-prem software and solutions. And all of that time is something that can be reinvested into your organization to reinvent or look at the adoption of new technologies into your organization. So these are the primary benefits from a cloud perspective that we are talking about. And all of that comes up into one single slide, where we are talking about scalable solutions. We are talking about reducing costs. And through the time that you are saving by not investing more into on-prem solutions, you are able to better manage your time. You're able to better manage your own resources and focus more on innovation and how to adopt latest technologies, right? And that adds value to your business. That adds to your complexity, reducing costs as well. From a security and compliance perspective, whenever any OEM sits on the cloud and is providing its software to us, for us as a BMC perspective, it becomes very, very important to make sure that all the security and compliance checks are, in place from that perspective, and which provides access and flexibility to our end customers to provide these services to their end employees or customers from anywhere, from any part of the world. Basically, we are talking about borderless, workspaces in these days. So that is where I would like to introduce BMC Helix to all of you. So BMC Helix is industry's first end-to-end platform for service and operations experience. In the old age, you would have seen that about 5, 6 years back, the service management experience or the service management solutions in the industry and operations management, which is looking at enterprise IT operations management, were two different portfolio buckets or solutions which are used to drive their own agendas. But more also, I mean, whenever we are talking about platform economy, when we are talking about automation, when we are talking about work from anywhere perspective, these two areas of service and operations are sort of combining together. And from a BMC Helix perspective, it is an industry's first end-to-end cloud-based platform which is served over a public cloud of your own choice, be it Google, be it AWS, or be it BMC's own cloud. So we are offering BMC Helix over a cloud platform at the cloud of your own choice, where both the worlds of service management and operations management are coming together. Now, BMC Helix platform offers customers, I would say, 6 key capabilities. First of all, any operations, any activity, any task that you need to do, any transformation that you need to bring it into your own organization. First of all, it is most important to know what are the ownerships of different assets that you have. You need to know what are the different assets that you have. So from a discovery solution, we bring in a small discovery solution over the Helix platform, which allows you to see around corners, which allows you to discover the different assets that you own, right from all the infrastructure aspects, which is servers, the rack spaces, databases, different applications, different services that you're providing, all of that, and what are the interlinks between all of that. Like a particular service, let's say, if I'm a BFSI customer, I'm more interested as a CIO to look at how my net banking application is performing. And if the net banking application or the service is down, I need to be able to pinpoint where is the dependency. I mean, which exact problem, what is the exact problem that is happening, right? So through the discovery solution, when we are mapping the interlinkages of all these different services, applications, assets, we will be able to create those service models and pinpoint where the exact problems is, right? And we will continue to monitor that on an ongoing basis through the monitoring platform, which comes in, which has an we heard about AI Ops. Ram was mentioning that there is a deep AI and ML layer which is building, which is continuously monitoring the entire infrastructure for you and also continuously learning so that it will be able to predictively alert you that there is some problem that is going to happen. And based on the historical trends, these are the specific actions that you need to take, and this could be a possible root cause. And once an alert is created, a problem is identified, how do you notify your end users that, okay, this is a problem, this needs to be fixed, this is the timeline, and this is the criticality? So that is where the service management space comes in, which is integrated closely with our entire Helix platform or the operations or the monitoring platform. Whenever a problem has happened or ticket is automatically created, it is notifying the end user or the agent who is working on that ticket, and will be able to contact your customer that, okay, this is a problem that has happened. This is a possible root cause. I am your manager or the manager of this ticket, and I'm going to help you solve that. So that is how the integration entirely works. And from a security and compliance perspective, how do you automate the entire life cycle of your servers and network devices, right? We are talking about, because of the digital world, because of the work from anywhere world that we have seen, there are a lot of security breaches also that over the last few years or the last past year that we have seen, right? How do you make sure that all your security, the patch policies, the compliance policies are all in place and in check and up to date as per your organization standards? That is where the entire automation piece of a server lifecycle, right from the patching, the configuration, compliance, managing the entire vulnerabilities across your assets of servers and network devices, including endpoints, come into play. And that will also continue to go and feed into, how do you continuously improve your cost and capacity expenditures, right? I mean, is it possible that whenever you have to launch a new application or you have to provide a new service to your customers, the regular old age thought process was that let's add more server capacities, let's add more infrastructure to provide that new service. But it may also be possible that the infrastructure that we have set up may not be optimally, may not be set up optimally. Is there a possibility that in some sort of reconfigurations we can, optimize that infrastructure that you have, and without adding more infrastructure capacity, you are still able to serve or provide new services and applications to your customer? And that is where we are looking at a capacity optimization perspective, that how do we optimize your current capacity, and how do you forecast that at some point in time, if you keep adding applications and services, at this point in time it is likelihood that you will run out of infrastructure, and these are these possible downtimes or the faults or the challenges that your infrastructure can place in. So that is how you can manage your costs and the capacities without adding more infrastructures through this platform. So it's an integrated platform sitting on the cloud, completely containerized, serve at a cloud, cloud of your own choice, be it Microsoft, Amazon, BMC, Google Cloud, and it helps you provide 5 to 6 key capabilities, right from discovering every asset into your data center, right from that managing it, monitoring it, alerting different people of any problems that would have happened, and continuously how do you continue to optimize the cost and capacities from that perspective. So that is what Helix platform is all about. Now, in the paucity of time, I will just rush to the slide in terms of we have seen that our customers have always complained about the painful upgrades that they will have to go to, the cost that they spend, the infrastructure that they have to manage being on an on-prem solution. And we discussed that a cloud-based platform, a SaaS-based platform takes all of that. But from that perspective, what is it that's setting Helix apart? What is it that sets BMC Helix apart as a differentiator for our customers? Is that if you generally see major of the SaaS suppliers who are out there in the market, right from all the environments that are, all the aspects that are mentioned on the screen right now, right from upgrades, reconciliation of customizations, any repair, any planning, or any ownership that has to be taken is all a customer's responsibility. But from a BMC Helix standpoint, we are only involving customer at two areas that may, informing the customer that there is an upgrade testing that has to be performed. That is where the customer has to get involved. Also, if there are any customizations that has to be taken, if any customization has been broken, those are the only two areas related to upgrade and customization where customer will have to take the ownership of that, but rest everything is managed and owned by BMC. So that is one of the powerful proof points from a upgrade standpoint, or one of the differentiators I can say about BMC Helix. We offer our customers 99.9% of contracted availability, right? I mean, if there is an Helix offers our customers that the availability of the platform on the cloud of your own choice is 99.9%. And there are several SLAs or severities also that we have found out if the application goes down, and if it's a critical severity ticket that anyone is raising, our customers are raising, we respond within 15 minutes. So these are the different severity levels that we have identified and put it into our contract for our customers, where we are offering the mobile first support as well, and maintaining and ensuring that the availability of the SaaS application of Helix is always uptime, and there is very, very, very minimal downtime that the customers will have to face. So that is the differentiator. And I'm happy to say that finally, from the industry recognition perspective, all the major analysts, including Gartner, Forrester, OVM, and different analyst reports of the world, have consistently rated BMC and BMC Helix platform as a leader in its in its portfolio of solutions. Gartner has rated BMC Helix platform as a leader into the Gartner quadrant for 6 years consecutively. For the past 6 years consecutively. Forrester has spoken about the same accolades and OVM as well, where we are leading in across all the metrics against our competitors and the features and functionality that we are providing. So that's it. I mean, I'm hopeful that I was able to give you a brief glance about what BMC Helix is all about. Given the paucity of the time, there are a lot of things that I was not able to cover, but we are happy to have a chat with you and understand what are your priorities and how is it that BMC can come and help you serve better, irrespective of your challenges. So if you have any queries, please reach out to Vishnu Sivadas. His email is mentioned on your screen, and we'll be able to address a query through the right channels. So that is it about BMC Helix, and then I will pass this on that we have a short poll that we have designed for you. So Shubhendra, I would like you to take it over and introduce the poll to our friends on this call. Thank you.
Thank you, Deepak. And may I request the admin to please put forth the call? Yeah. So, dear friends, here is the question, and may I request you to
Meeting में
choose your options and
चलो ठीक है.
take your choice. The question is more and more CIOs mandating cloud first strategy. Do you agree? And your options are yes, no, and don't know. You can take your choice, and the results will be out once we're done. This will be on the screen for next couple of seconds. So again, the question is more and more CIOs are mandating a cloud first strategy. Do you agree with it? Yes, no, and don't know. Your options are open. Please give your votes. Great. So 91%, as we can see, 91% audience have opted for yes. So they agree that more and more CIOs are mandating a cloud first strategy. They agree with that. And thank you, Deepak. It was a wonderful listening to you, the details of how the platform can be used to leverage emerging technologies like automation, analytics, AI, and machine learning. And so we'll just move to the question answer session. We have maybe a time for take one or two questions. So may I request Deepak and Sunil to come back live and switch on their cameras. Thank you, Sunil.
Hi, Siddharth.
Yeah. So there are a couple of questions, but in keeping in the time constraint, I'll just take one or two. And here is a direct question to you from one of the audience. It says, what is your take on cloud technology? We were talking about the cloud and the survey was on cloud. So what's your take on cloud technology adoption in India? And is it expected to increase in sectors with the work from home scenario? So over to you, Sunil. Yeah, please.
Yeah, very good question actually. If you look at the work from home business, what happens is the businesses must be able to effectively manage probably new and ever increasing endpoints, right? All offsite with potentially very limited IT resources, with all their inherent security, patching, configuration privileges, application needs, and more. I mean, if you look at it, this is a direct line to increase cloud technology needs, right? So if you add to this the absolute requirement for a very effective communication collaboration tool, and I must say, you can plug to this the requirement for communication and collaboration tools, which are going to almost like temporarily for sure, in so many cases, permanently replace these in-person meetings, right, and on-site team collaborations. So what happens is when you have a requirement of this nature, it is very important that you move a lot of these requirements into cloud because you just quickly need to get inside this and quickly need to scale on this. So those are great use cases for cloud adoption in India. So I think there is going to be a significant interest in moving towards cloud.
Thanks, Sunil. We'll just take one more question because we, in interest of the time. And here is okay. So choosing an IT model for your business is very important decision. And what is your take on enterprises thinking to go for hybrid multi-cloud to be their operating models? Okay, Sunil, please.
Okay. So today's business must look for the most flexible and effective options to achieve what we call as these digital transformation initiatives. And for many, hybrid cloud will be something that will allow them multi-pronged approach to support all their businesses, technology, and service reliability requirements without the limitations of a single provider or reliance on only public cloud or private cloud, right? So public cloud options like Azure, AWS, and Google, they all offer very high reliability and low cost, but resources are shared. And private cloud, on the other hand, it offers a great amount of control and scalability, but comes at a cost. So you got to be constantly balancing these two options. So I think multi-cloud and a hybrid multi-cloud options are going to be the operating models for the future, so that enterprises get the best of all the world.
Thank you, Sunil, for taking the two questions and giving a lot of clarity. So we are almost past 4 now. So so we'll have to take a hard stop now. And on behalf of Cyber Media and Dataquest, I'd like to thank you, Deepak and Ram, for joining us today. And I'm really very happy to inform all participants that today's webinar will be available as video on demand on the Dataquest YouTube channel for you to watch again, share it, and you can see it multiple times if you miss some point. And we'd like to call it a day today. But before that, may I request all participants to please share their feedback with us. The forms would be visible on your screen after we sign off. And that's very important for us because it gives us more inputs on how to improve it and make things better for you, things that you want to hear, listen, you want us to talk about. With this, thanks again, Sunil. And I'm signing off now. This is Shubhendu, Parth, your host for today's webinar. Stay home, stay safe, and keep reading Dataquest. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you, Shubhendu, and Jai Hind.